For the Tuesday, September 9th meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I believe we'll start with our roll call.
Commissioner Bach,
Here.
Commissioner Baker, Commissioner Hester,
Here.
Commissioner Keen,
Here.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Rooney, Chairman Boroff.
Here. Okay, well, thanks everyone for being here. It's nice to see you all again. Okay, no public comment that I'm aware of. No public here today. So we'll advance then to approval of minutes, and we've got two separate sets of minutes to consider. Ah, there he is. Hey, Pat. Do we need to do a re-roll call or an amended roll call?
We'll just note in the minutes that Commissioner Rooney is a rep.
Okay, all right, we just got started with roll call. You've missed one of the
sorry.
most important stuff. Okay, so our first minutes, we'll start in chronological order here, are May 20th minutes, which were amended per our discussion at our last meeting. And I know recirculated, so CJ in particular, to some of your additional comments. So is there anything that anybody saw in the May 20th minutes that they objected to, or any concerns with what's been added there? Okay.
No.
I didn't have anything either. So do we need to vote on approval of those minutes? Okay, so
Yep.
I need a motion to approve
Motion to approve.
and a second.
Second that motion.
All right.
All right, Commissioner Bach,
Aye.
Commissioner Hester,
Aye.
and Chairman Boroff, or Commissioner Rooney, sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Keen,
Yes.
Chairman Boroff.
Aye. Okay, so our May 20th minutes are approved. So moving on to our July 8th minutes, which was our last meeting. Again, did anybody see anything that concerned or potential adjustments to those minutes?
I think the summary under other business discussions items B is a little confusing. I think the commentary was around planning and zoning's, mentions that the church property on Oak could have been preserved as a park. And, here it's really kind of linking planning and zoning to the commentary about the cash in lieu of development policy. So maybe clarifying that comment, and because I think it is important for us as we go forward into the master plan to think about not just coming up with a great plan, but how we incorporate other bodies within the village to drive change, and thinking through coordination with planning and zoning as an example is one of them.
So-
Commissioner, is that on page 5?
Page 5.
Section B? Can you articulate the specific change to the wording?
It would really require adding probably two or three sentences, because the sentence Commissioner Bach asked if planning and zoning would be involved in this process as well was not really the comment. I think there were two separate discussions there.
Okay, so we can go back and review the video, and do you want us to add additional information there?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is page 5 of 6, B, new developments and park donations updates. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, really the first paragraph, right?
Okay.
All right, so then we won't vote on these minutes. We'll go back and make some adjustments, and, you guys can work with CJ to come up with something that feels like it captures the the spirit of what you're saying.
Great.
Sure.
Okay, so then we'll push that one again to next
Okay.
meeting. Okay, then moving on, liaison report, or SRA update.
Yeah, so I attached our July SRA report. This is kind of near the end of summer. A couple of things I want to point out, and I've done this several times. One, Hinsdale's doing extremely well with inclusion services. We are still ranked among the second highest used community. Our Elevate program for our new adults is continuing to grow. We're at 5 there. And then more importantly, which I found more interesting, there'll be more data to come on this, Gateway it contracts with the Ray Graham Association, and Ray Graham Association's actually doing a strategic plan with their recreation participants to see what inclusion services they enjoy taking, want to take. They've recently just sent out that survey. We haven't received any of the data back, but as soon as I get that information, it'll be something I'm sharing with the board. Kind of goes nicely with some of our vision stuff that we're working on too. So I'm very glad to see them doing that. Our next meeting is actually this Thursday, so we'll have some more information after our next board meeting.
Mike, the one thing I noticed in the data on the participation data is that in the summer camp session 1, we had 1 participant, and then session 2, we had 7 participants. And I'm wondering if you know why there is a, kind of a big increase from one session to the next.
You know, I really don't. We don't take the registrations for this, but if it's like our programs, I assume it's pretty similar. People are traveling, have other obligations, could fall over the 4th of July. I'm not sure how they structured that, but it's something will ask them next time I see them this Thursday.
I didn't know if there was anything we did or changed in terms of kind of our outreach or marketing efforts around that.
Yeah, we don't control what our contractual association does for the outreach, but still a good question. I'll look into it.
It's nice to see high participation. That's certainly a good thing. I just noted the difference there.
All
Okay,
right.
any questions on Ray Graham? Okay. Okay, then our staff reports and pool update.
Yeah, so we quarterly do these item of interest reports, and I wanted to share it with the commission in lieu of our normal staff report this time. We outline key updates and accomplishments in this report. Some of the items that we do have in this report have previously been discussed, so I won't discuss those, but there are some notable new additions in here, one of which being Movies in the Park has wrapped up. I want to say kudos to Todd here. He popped approximately 300 bags of popcorn to hand out to the public. So our basement was smelling yummy a few times this summer. Our T-ball league, also kudos to Todd here. He did secure a $1,500 sponsorship, which covered our T-ball uniforms for the program. We also recently did update our sponsorship guide and emailed out to all of our past and current sponsors to encourage further support for upcoming events. Under budgeting and planning, we are entering the budgeting process. Staff's currently in the process of reviewing our budgets to make sure that everything's in line for 2026. A couple notable key updates under facilities is we spent time over at KLM organizing equipment and inventory and implemented a label storage system so we could better find everything. The bathroom floor improvements at Pierce Park have been completed. That was once again due to Hinsdale Little League's donation there. Renovations for Stow Park has been completed, and now so has Brook Park since we've completed this. They are absolutely gorgeous. If you get a chance, I encourage you to go out there and look at them. And then we're nearing finalization of the playground donation for Robbins. More information to be coming on that. And just a couple other notes on here I wanted to share. We did complete the renovation and replacement of the lodge, the storage shed outside the lodge. This has really helped staff with storage. We didn't have much storage room in KLM, and our other shed was falling apart. We did also replace the privacy fence there. It looks really nice with the facility, blends in nicely with it. And then our usual stuff has been completed for the summer, replacement of park tables, garbage cans, improvements to fence lines, any of those small budgetary items that we do annually. And then finally, I know that we're going to have a really detailed pool report coming up here, so I'll just go kind of high level here. Stuff staff did for the 2026 seasons, we hosted and attended many job fair events, did many advertising push to get staff. It paid off well. We had over 100 plus staff. We did secure a new concession agreement with a new vendor, which worked out very, very nicely. We actually had no complaints from the vendor at all in concessions. Everyone was talking about them. And they have agreed to come back next year, which is phenomenal, so we don't have to go out for another RFP. Another big accomplishment is extending our 3-year agreement with Hinsdale Swim Club. We have, for the last 2 years, been opening early for Hinsdale Swim Club, and we have continued to make that arrangement going forward for the next 3 years. We figured out an approach how to handle it. Several grants were secured through IRMA to offset some cost of expense. One of the costs was we did a slip resistance manager 4, so when staff are walking in there, they're not less likely to slip. It has a sand grit to it, and IRMA did cover the cost of that, at least a portion of it. And then we did touch-up work around the inside the facility and locker rooms and purchased some new lounge chairs and lane lines. So the pool was very busy, and this is only a snapshot of what we did. We really look forward to detailing it in more depth when we do our annual report.
Any questions on any of those items? I have a few, just some of them kind of out of curiosity questions. In terms of the 4th of July parade, I think last meeting we talked about you guys doing a staff debrief with some of the volunteers and people who participated. Have you done that? And
Yeah, we at the end of one of our weekly meetings, I sat down with the police department, who truthfully had the heavier lift in some of this, and some of the public service staff. And the main debriefing pointed out that we want to extend our barricades. This year, we rented about roughly 100 additional barricades to help with
those metal
to
barricades?
help with the acts so they can make the turns safely. And we're going to expand and budget on that for next year. Otherwise, we had no other concerns or thoughts. It was just to continue that enhancement with those barricades.
Yeah, I was curious if there were any sort of key items that surfaced in that, so thank you. The fall program brochure, did you say that's out, or what's the timing for that?
Yeah, that's been out.
Oh.
That went out the first week of August, or last week of July. Registration starts the first week of August. So that's consistent with what we've been doing. So our winter spring will come out mid-November. Registration's first week of December, and then summer comes out March. Registration's first week of April. So it's like 3 months, and then.
Any highlights from what you're seeing in terms of registrations?
You know, our big winter events are picking up and filling pretty quickly. We haven't launched some of our dates for like our Polar Express event. That's October 1st. So that's gonna be the next big highlight. But like lunch and breakfast with Santa, last time I looked, we're about half sold out. Winter Wonderland was nearing half sold out. So our staple events, people are already grabbing them and signing up, which makes our life easier as planners, because we can plan on how much material we need and crafts and food and et cetera.
And if you look historically, our biggest book and our most programs are summer, followed by winter, spring, and fall actually being the lightest of programs. And that's just based on the co-ops that we work with and the outside vendors in the different communities.
Yeah, we didn't do it in the fall because it is costly, but in the January of 2025, we actually sent out postcards, and we just looked at that data the other day, and we had like
2,000 people. There's a QR code on those mailers. Over 2,000, it's been scanned over 2,000 times. So we actually have been at least tracking that. So it worked.
So yeah, is that to suggest that out of the 6,000 or so postcards that went out, roughly a third of those elicited some sort of follow-up.
Correct. And that came from our discussion with the commission of expanding our engagements. We started with those yard signs, and then we had the postcards, and we pulled back on the postcards. Now we wanted to try it to see what the engagement was, and we did. So going into next budget year, we're planning to expand that even further.
That's awesome. Sorry, I have a little list here. We talked you made mention of the disc golf sort of new signage. Just to clarify, are these signs that go up on each hole with a picture of, so to speak,
Yes.
of that hole?
So pretty much the original PDF of the holes as well as the entire map. The original files are, for lack of a better word, gone. So we had them update give it a refresh look, have the basic rules of what disc golf is, and they just finished the main map. And they are currently starting on working on each and individual hole. So once we get those approved, we'll actually get the signs created and put back up.
So it's like a normal golf course. You have a scorecard with all of the holes or some sort of map of
Correct.
all of the holes. And then at each tee box, there's a sign, a map of that hole.
And then eventually what we'll do is we'll be able to take that and actually make a digital, like a downloadable scorecard, so people could actually download it off our website and actually walk through and keep score like they would on any golf
Would that be
course and
new?
stuff.
Do we have that capability today with the old maps?
Not with the
No.
old maps, it's great, once you start blowing them up and stuff, it just gets grainy and so.
Yeah, that's nice. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, appreciate it. Next part of the staff's report is our pool revenue update. This was as of Sunday, August 24th. Keep in mind, there were 3 more operating days after August 24th. We had Labor Day weekend. But as you can see in the table provided, all the revenue categories have surpassed the 2025 annual budget. We are projecting some additional revenue because of the Labor Day weekend, but we're still diving into all that data. This report will be fully completed when we get to doing our annual pool report, so we'll include this in there, plus whatever additional items that we normally do when it comes to the expense and revenue, so we can look at it closely. But all in all, it was a fantastic season at the pool. It was busy. Lots of people were smiling and having fun.
So Mike, as you look at, you mentioned you're gonna start looking at your budgets for 2026, right? Don't have to give exact figures right now, but considering, all the overage that you guys received from the closing of Clarendon Hills pool, how are you guys gonna forecast for that? I imagine you should forecast for some sort of growth, but then also take in consideration some of the leakage that you're gonna get, when that pool opens back up next summer.
We always budgeted very conservatively when it comes to this pool based off of past. We know we're going to have a drop off next year because a majority of our growth, and once we get to the next page, you can actually see it, but a majority of our growth came from Clarendon Hills and Western Springs, who both had pool issues. So one was shut down. People were coming from Western Springs over here because their pools weren't heated. We anticipate that to honestly completely wipe out. And then you're going to have this whole new amenity push. Clarendon Hills is going to have something new and shiny. Eventually, Western Springs is going to have something new and shiny. So we will take a conservative approach when it comes to our next year's budget. And then anything overage is gravy for us.
Okay, thanks.
I was going to just, I wanted to just talk about the swim lesson revenue. Like private lessons were a little bit down this year. I was just curious, is there any issue with finding enough guards who want to teach lessons?
No, we had
Okay.
so many staff that wanted to teach private and group lessons. We couldn't even use them all. This really just comes down to who's on vacations, who's around, does it go around their schedules. We actually added in evening lessons per the suggestion of the report last year, and those worked out really well. Our Saturday morning lessons were added in 2024 per the report, and those worked out well. So it just
Yeah.
goes back and forth
So
every
we're
year.
meeting the demand
Yes.
that's out there for
We
lessons.
turn anyone away unless it came to the end of the season. So when staff start going back to school, and by then we can't do private lessons. Pool's closing down, and we got to wrap
Okay.
up.
Thank you.
Mike, with your $200,000, I guess, unexpected or unbudgeted revenue, is that ring fenced for Parks and Recreation, or does that just flow into the village's general fund and can you use that for port in place rubber?
Yeah, it all goes
Playground.
into the village's general fund. So anytime that there's revenue, everything goes back into the village's general fund and then gets looked at appropriately. Also, just
What sort of advocacy, I guess, from us would be useful to, I guess, reward your efforts and, making sure that, because I think generally our Parks Department is incredibly under-resourced relative to any of our peers. And so when you do have excess revenues coming in, it'd be great to see them deployed to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I mean, those are all conversations we can have with our other department heads in the future. It's really a policy decision to change the approach of the village. But I really do appreciate the recognition. It does mean a lot to all of us because we do work really hard on it. One thing I do also want to point out on this report, and I kind of alluded to it already. So 2025 saw an 1,800 increase in membership from 2024. It's important to note that half of that, roughly a little over 500, came from Clarendon Hills, with another 100 coming from Western Springs. So in reality, we did see about a 400 person growth, because I'm not counting that as the future. And that other 400 person growth or membership growth really came from the LaGrange Brookfield area, places that do not have pools. So that's like kind of an area that we'll keep our eye on, because we have over the years now started seeing that growth a little bit. Next year, we kind of anticipate these numbers to go back into the mid 2,000 level, just with all the new pools opening up.
Yeah. You have to make up almost 30%, drop off.
But I think it's great how we started making this chart back in 2023, now where we're tracking which towns they're coming from, and then where we can market and where we can advertise, or where we might not want to advertise.
Well, it's possible that some of that growth from other towns like LaGrange were LaGrange residents using the Clarendon Hills pool who didn't have that as an option.
It could be. So it'll be interesting once we get that next year of data, then we're going to have 4 years of data since we started collecting all this.
I was curious to see that our pool resident fees, the first line on your revenue history, that grew by 34%.
Yeah, the reason that grew is in the past, we just used to offer a family membership. The problem is we found out that people were coming in and considering a family membership to be 8, 9 people. So we adjusted it to be a family of 4, and then you had to tack on an additional member for a nominal fee. That automatically contributed to our growth a little bit, and then gave us some better tracking of who was coming in and out of the pool.
Does that, because the other part of that note, that on the revenue side, we grew just in terms of actual numbers of Hinsdale residents, there was some nominal growth there. So your explanation can kind of explains that.
Correct. It did add to the revenue too.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get this in a pretty detailed report coming up. Like I said, we're still getting in some bills right now. The pool is wrapped up for the season from a management standpoint, but just clearing out our expenses, doing the final payroll this week of staff for the pools. Some more data is about to come in.
Cool. Yeah, it was a great year. Okay, so then moving on to, well, our old business.
Yeah, I'll give a brief update here, and you guys can please jump in too. So we have been meeting pretty much every 3 weeks with our subcommittee on this master plan. We have narrowed it down to a firm. It's been a great process. It's been a healthy process. It's been a lot of engagement, back and forth, good conversation between the committee. The firm that we did select will hopefully go to the trustees in the October meeting for approval. And then from that point, it's our goal, hopefully some point in November, to start this process. Chris, anything you'd like to add on that?
I guess I could just maybe add the point that where, in terms of where we started with original quotes from any of the firms, they were, sort of higher than what we had originally budgeted for. And I think through a couple rounds of our process, we got those down to numbers that we felt more comfortable with, albeit still a little bit beyond the amounts that were budgeted. So it sounds like that's sort of the last bit of wrangling that needs to happen with the trustees to ultimately approve a little bit more budget money than we had budgeted for or anticipated. We've got kind of a strategy and an approach to doing that. So we're hopeful that that won't be a problem issue.
Yeah, all in all, once this gets approved, typically how this process works, just to fill you guys in, we'll be meeting as a staff with the selected firm, and then they will present us a detailed timeline that's accurate, because what they've given us in the past is so much time's gone by, and then we'll know kind of upfront what our goals are, when our meetings are going to be, what engagement we're all going to have. So hoping in November or the next meeting after that we have that packet put together for you guys.
Yeah, and and we've said in our working group that the community engagement element of this whole process of the future project is a really important one. That's one that we want to really hit hard and make sure that we're gathering input from all different kind of pockets and demographics of the village. And I would imagine that's something that all of us can and should be involved in when we get to the different kind of approaches and elements of gathering feedback from the community.
On that point,
In particular.
I attended last week's traffic and safety open house from another consultant. And there was a lot of, I think, dissatisfaction from community members about the scope of work, it not being intelligently designed. And we can go into more details offline, but just, making sure that that's a similar process that happened just now. There was a lot of negative feedback about what the village signed up for, it being insufficient and not super well designed. So maybe taking those learnings from that process and making sure that they're incorporated into the community.
That's a great
feedback
point.
piece.
Yeah, if we have a recent example of something that didn't kind of quite go to satisfaction, then we should definitely learn from that. So thanks.
All right. Well, once again, thank you, both of you guys, for being a part of it. Really, really appreciate it and value the feedback. Commission park assessments. I wanted to sincerely thank you guys for your feedback. It was nice to have the support and an outside perspective. Outlined below is a very high-level summary of everyone's feedback. It is important to note items regarding further evaluation will be considered accordingly with the Village Forestry and Public Service Department as needed. Suggestions for capital improvements will be considered as part of the upcoming budget discussion and new comprehensive plan when it's completed. So we just gave you kind of a high level of some of your comments here, but we have all of them and they're all being looked at. It was great, very detailed, and really appreciate it. And we'll get out the next round of it for a few more parks, maybe the next month. Next meeting, I'm thinking, in November.
Yeah, we split them into
Yeah,
two groups,
correct.
or two tranches, and
we did the bigger parks at
yeah.
first. Now it's kind of going down to the more passive areas.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was valuable for me. I hope everybody else felt the same. And Mike, if you feel like your team got value out of it, then absolutely we should move forward with phase 2 as planned. And if it didn't take me a whole lot of time, I don't know how others felt, but I'd be willing to sign up for my next park between now and our next meeting.
And I think going forward, and I know you guys gave me the information, but even if you find time just to meet one-on-one with me to have discussion, you get a little more content out of having that in-person conversation. So, but otherwise, thank you. I really appreciate
So
it.
were you suggesting that you could get sort of our next round of assignments out and we could
Have it
complete
for the
our
next meeting.
assessments by the next meeting?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. I'll send it
If
out.
everybody's game for that, I think that would be,
I'm a little tied up in meetings the rest of this week, but next week I'll get that out.
okay. Cool.
Mike, is there any format you want our feedback in?
No, just stick, just to the points. It was fine. Everyone did it a little different. It was fine. Todd and I read through it all and made notes, and it just helped us with our budget process and working with public services accordingly.
I was gonna say, the pictures were also,
Did
the
everybody take
pictures were nice.
pictures in theirs? Yeah, I would guess that is a really helpful tool.
All right, so I'll get that out next week. And then I think the last thing I have under sponsorship, old business, this is kind of a comeback from the last meeting. There was some conversation. So in the last meeting, there was a comment about bringing back data about the percentage of sponsorships we get. I want to explain this a little bit, and we did type some stuff up here for you. How do we handle sponsorship levels? It is really hard for us to drill down to that level, as some of our levels only allow for a limited number of sponsors and other levels allow for unlimited number of sponsors. But if you look on the sheet, we did break down all the data from 2024, which will show you an example like Fall Fest. We have a great pumpkin sponsor for 2000. We only offer one of those. We got one of those. Apple Orchard sponsored. We offered one of those. We got one of those. But when it comes down to like the Little Goblin sponsors, those could be unlimited. But last year, we go through everything here of all of our special events, fees we collected, sponsorships we collected, and this was actually brought to you, the commission, I do believe last year. We just added more detail to it this year. And if this is stuff that you guys like seeing for a recap for the end of the year, we could definitely continue this approach. And then additionally, we did look into the chamber's sponsorship. After reviewing the data, they're in really a whole different level than us asking for some money. We're trying to drill down to some of those mom and pop things, and the levels that we have really compare to what other small park districts or rec departments are doing. Kind of getting us in that same level at the chamber, I think it would be difficult, but it is definitely something that we'll keep in the back of our pockets and keep looking at what they're doing, so we don't maybe have mission creep or we're not hitting the same company over and over again, and just keep working together. And we do talk with the chamber quite often, so those will be continued conversations that we have with them when it comes to us selecting or soliciting sponsors.
I mean, the one thing that I took away from looking at the chamber's different sponsorship offerings was, well, and particularly the price tag associated with those, is that, you know, we're kind of in the same ballpark, that the things that we're offering and the things that they're offering, particularly at the, I don't know, kind of the higher end, the bigger sponsorships.
With the exception of like Uniquely Thursdays, that's a whole another category. But from their small end stuff, to join like a gold member, a silver member, or a bronze member, yeah, we're in the level with them.
And I would also like to note that a lot of our smaller sponsorships, like especially for Fall Fest, is to get them to come out and offer handouts, candy, treats to the kids. So by keeping them a little bit lower, it incentivizes more people to come out. If we only had 3 people sitting out there with us and had 1,000 people, it could get quite boring quickly. So having those, at least for our Fall Fest, we want to get about 20 to 30 vendors or sponsors to come out, so.
So are you saying that the market is a little bit saturated between you guys and the chamber going after, you know, a limited amount of businesses that are gonna sponsor or donate?
We don't compete with the chamber at all. They're going for bigger stuff. We're going for little pop stuff like Lane Vet. They came out one year and they handed out little squishy toys. So, like Todd said, our goal is to get people to come out, decorate their tables for Fall Fest, make it look fun and exciting, and get the kids an opportunity to trick or treat between 20 or 30 tables versus 2. So all in all, I hope that helps clarify a little bit on this stuff, and we'll keep you updated once we get through 2025 info. We'll look at it again.
Sounds good. Okay, so then moving on to new business and the pool survey question.
Yeah, so every year we send out a pool survey. We need to do that again so I can collect data appropriately to get this annual report done. So what you see in front of you is the 2024 postseason pool survey that was sent out to members. We are currently preparing the 2025 survey and welcome any suggestions. I was hoping if you guys wouldn't mind taking an opportunity to review this and let me know any suggestions you have by September 21st. I would review those and incorporate them as we see fit accordingly into this.
Mike, is this 2024 survey, this has been redone from what was done previously, right?
Yeah,
Because
before-
I remember you asked for input last year, and I gave some input, but I feel like this survey afforded residents much more opportunity to
Correct.
give better feedback.
What we did is before in the past, we used SurveyMonkey and we were limited to the amount of questions we could do. Now we switched a new survey system that gives us an opportunity to ask more survey questions, but most importantly in SurveyMonkey, we were limited to the number of responses. It actually locks out after, I'm throwing a number out there, it's 100 responses.
Also, is it, I mean, it's fairly lengthy, but do you know, I mean, when people get the survey, has somebody taken the survey so that you know, like, this should take you 15 minutes or?
So with the new software, they actually use AI to run
Oh.
through and test it. So it actually says the amount of fatigue, so how tiresome it is to go through it, the average length of time it would
Okay.
go through it, and the ease of use. So if anyone has disabilities or whatnot. So it actually rates every single one of our surveys that way, so we can adjust
We
as
also
necessary.
incentivized free membership. So it's only a couple people that wins it, but we randomly drawing,
Oh, that's
give
good.
away free membership for conducting the survey.
What is the new software?
It's called Elkimer.
It's a paid subscription. It's not that much, but it gives us that opportunity to do a bigger reach than SurveyMonkey that's very limited.
I have a number of thoughts and inputs. What would you prefer in terms of feedback from us?
Send me an email and then I'll review it. And then depending on how many there are, I'll probably give you a call and then talk through some of them. But yeah, anything you have for thoughts, I mean, that's how we redid this from 2023. We went through the same exercise, incorporated kind of everyone's thoughts. Some people had the same questions. Obviously, we had to rework them a little bit.
So give you our feedback, you said by the 21st?
Yes, if that's okay. That's like 2 weeks, and that'll give me a little time to get out the survey and then start reviewing the data and working on that report.
So one question. Typically, when you scope a research survey, you've got some objectives in mind, what you want to find out. What are the top 3 things you're looking for? As I went through all these questions, one of them looked a lot like the condition of the pool, the cleanliness of it, the condition of it. So
Every year's changed a little bit. I think when I was here in 2022, it was focused really on the locker rooms and the cleanliness, and then it would focus on concessions. Not now, from my perspective, I'm going to start focusing on the amenities, the overall condition of the pool. Was it busy? Was it too busy? Was lap swimming okay? So I'm going to focus on some more of the operational side, which I'll incorporate, of course, my thoughts into it also and get out. But any of those ideas that you think, especially when it comes around to amenities and what would you like to see in the pool or what do you like to see different in the pool, I think that's good information. And that's how we got to some of these changes we've done over the last 3 years.
Sure. No, that's good context, those 3 things you just listed. So I'll be kind of focused on those 3 areas, as you mentioned, while I review all the questions. So thanks.
And if you don't get to it, I understand you're all busy, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance to weigh in and give your suggestions.
And I will like to note that when going through like our survey in last year, the more poignant our questions have been, the better data we've gotten. A lot of the open-ended questions we've noticed, we had someone that answered, need more pool chairs for what kind of swim programs would you like? So the more poignant our questions, the better, I think, data and the better information we're getting, because
Yeah, in fact, I was going to suggest, take amenities as an example. There's probably just an open-ended question you want to ask about what amenities would you like to see, what kind of ideas you get. But if you have some specific ideas about, we're weighing these 3 possibilities or these 5 possibilities, then asking more pointed
Sure.
questions around those specific ideas would certainly be helpful too. So,
But yeah, no, I appreciate the help on this. This has been a great tool. Like I said, I don't know exactly when we started this, but I know we've been doing this since 2022 when I started, and it's a good exercise to keep going through. And unless there's,
So I've got a couple old business questions that weren't listed here. The dog policy ordinance change, was that ever scheduled?
we just got done working through internal department review between myself, police, having legal look at it. We're going to bring it back to the commission in November for a final review, and then we're going to bring it to the Board of Trustees.
because the legal team were like rewriting the ordinance language.
We were clarifying the ordinance language, just making sure it was completely clear.
Okay, so we'll see a final draft, so to speak, of that language.
Correct.
Okay.
There was a research paper circulated on, I guess, competitive communities, neighboring communities on their cash land ordinances. Is that going to be rescheduled as discussion topic?
So staff has conducted a preliminary research on the topic for the commission's conversation. Any potential changes to the zoning code would be considered by the village board as part of amenities to zoning code updates. So it's kind of where we're at with it right now on that.
Meaning they don't want our input, or?
Sorry. No, they very much appreciate the input from the commission on that. The issue is that when we're considering changes to the zoning code, it's typically done in the context of larger, more comprehensive review of the zoning code. It's not that often that they just take one topic. So we expect that to be considered in the context of other improvements or changes to the zoning code that have been collected. It's probably going to be a 2026 project, but we can keep you updated on that.
Thank you.
So we've done our part to raise this as a possible topic of consideration. It will go on, kind of the list of other possible changes that will be considered as part of their regular kind of review and update cycle.
Yes, excellent, well said.
Okay, thank you.
The village's third-party study on the economic viability of the turf field, I think, should have been completed by now. Has that been circulated at all?
So we've had several meetings with NYSA, the youth sports organization, and we also have, per the village board's direction, engaged with an engineering firm and a financial revenue review firm. They're in the process of wrapping up those reports to give to us, and then we'll review them and go from there.
What are the contemplated timelines for that?
I expect that within the next few weeks, there'll be, some next steps that we'll be able to discuss. At this point in time, still working through the draft reports and some of the information. And then, as Mike said, we have been meeting with the HYSA to discuss some of the details related to the proposed turf field project.
Okay, just want to state for the record that I think it's, odd that, you have a forum like this that's meant to be, reviewing parks and recreation issues, and this is something that's being driven by sort of volunteer, third-party I guess it is what it is. On the Robbins Park Playground, are you planning on having an open meeting for community members to provide feedback on the design?
So the Robbins Park Playground is very unique for the village because we're receiving a donation for it. We have an approved concept design that's going to be put in. We're bringing it to the board, hopefully the next village board meeting. Keep in mind, as we go through this park master plan, playground review will be an extensive part of it. So if we do get feedback that changes to amenities, add additions to new amenities, that will all be taken into consideration and put into the budget planning process accordingly.
Yeah, on this point, I would say that I think that's a mistake not to have an open process with community members to provide feedback.
It's going to be a really nice concept, the park. We've been working on this for quite a while. It's really unique for the village. It is something that we are going to take into consideration, like I said, going through the master plan and all of our parks. We're very grateful to be in this position for this donation, and we're hoping to have it installed sometime in spring of 2025. 26.
What is the reason for not having any sort of kind of public review of the plan?
So when we brought an initial concept here, I forget the date, and it really hasn't changed much from the initial concept, but the family that's donating it has some specific direction on what the overall theme's going to be in order to honor one of their beloved members. And they also had to work in lines with the village because it is a village's project. So we had to go back and forth with the family, make sure that we were meeting all ADA compliances, zoning compliances on our end. Fall zones, as I explained in the last meeting, fall zone concepts have changed over the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, you see these huge parks, and nowadays you're gonna see these small parks to be placed in the same footprint. And that's what we're trying to work in right now, is getting a park in the same footprint, not expanding outside of that footprint. But overall, this has been a very passionate project. It's probably been a little touching for the family, and we're happy to be working with them. And it's really unique. It features a component that the village doesn't have, and I really think people are going to enjoy it.
Quick question. Minus that donation, would this project have an opportunity to be completed?
You know, we budget for parks accordingly in the CIP, whether or not they can get completed and met within budget. That's another story, but this particular project was reliant on that donation.
Perfect. No, that's fine.
So would there be opposition from the village or even the family who is sponsoring this to getting community feedback on the intended direction?
I don't think there'd be opposition. I think that the overall concept is kind of locked in place just because of its uniqueness and style. The family was really set on having this high energy tree level playground concept. It really hasn't changed from what I brought back in, I think it was January, February, the overall design of it. I kind of gave a quick rendering of it in my packet. But more importantly, it would also slow down the overall process because we need to engage with a company to bid out this process, get equipment ordered, and then hopefully get it in time for a spring install and not delay it any further.
I mean, maybe it's just something to consider for future projects like this. I mean, if I recall correctly, for the Burns update, or a replacement of the playground, we did have a few design options that we put out for public comment, and we heard what the public had to say, and we took that into account. That doesn't mean we did everything that we, that we heard or that was suggested to us. I would think that should be a typical step regardless of who's paying for it.
And it normally is 100%. Keep in mind also with Robbins, there's 3 playgrounds right now. We have a tot playground, we have a school playground who's a 5 to 12-year-old. The village is doing something completely different here and not putting in another tot and another 5 to 12-year-old playground. They're putting in a unique concept, and that's what the family's whole driving goal was with this donation. It's also our current oldest playground that needs to get replaced, and we don't want to delay this process anymore. But yes, the Burns was great. We did listen to some of that, and once we get through this master plan and get everybody's feedback, that's a big part of the direction we're going to go when it comes to these playground replacements.
But Mike, as one example, I think community might provide reasonable feedback on, currently as it's designed, the existing playground that's being replaced spans a wider age group than what is being installed, proposed to be installed, as I understand it. So if you've got, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, now all of a sudden the 2-year-old playground is 100 yards away, and you don't have the same proximity of equipment unless that's changed in the design. So one parent can't have both kids.
So this playground doesn't have height to it. I could easily see a 3-year-old being able to go down some of the slides on it. Also, we are keeping some of the elements there. So like our current swings are staying there. So you're still going to have a tot swing. You're still going to have your normal chain link swings. Yes, is there a climbing components to it that might gauge for older kids? 100%. But I definitely don't see with this design having an issue with younger kids as well. I mean, no, is it going to cater towards your 1-year-old or 2-year-old? That's what the tot lot specific is for. This is going to go for your, in my opinion, your 3 through 12-year-olds easily.
Is there anything else on your list?
I have a new business issue, but I can kind of summarize it all. I think, my point of bringing these things up is, they are, in my mind, more substantive issues that are relevant topics of discussion for a board. A lot of what ends up in our packet, it's 1 month or 2 month old staff reports that, don't offer a lot of room for us to actually, improve the Parks and Recs experience broadly within the village. One last example is a piece of new business. We've maybe touched at one point on how we would activate some of our park spaces with food and beverage. My understanding is that there now is a cafe coming to KLM that certainly wasn't discussed here. I don't think it was even thoroughly discussed at the trustee level, but that to me feels like a topic that would be valuable for a group like this to offer feedback on. And I understand some of this may be even done outside the realm of the Parks Department, but in my mind, that's also a problem, and that, we can help you be an advocate for your spaces.
I appreciate your comment, and once we get this master plan, we are going to have that avenue and roadmap, but we got to get through this master plan, and that's really going to help lay out having some of these conversations so we're not keep playing catch up, because that's all we're doing right now is just playing catch up. The master plan is supposed to put us in a position to have these conversations and have a roadmap in the future.
So your perspective is well noted, and I think it's something that we probably need to talk about more, in whatever appropriate forum we should do that. Just the principle of what you're saying, not the specific items per se, but the principles.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay. Any other sort of questions or comments from the group? Correspondence,
Now, none.
and then other business discussion items. The one thing that I wanted to note, maybe it fits here, maybe it doesn't, is just you had made mention that this meeting, we had talked about having this meeting today out at KLM. It obviously didn't happen. We had reasons for that. Do we think that our next meeting is a good candidate for that?
I have to look at the schedule and talk with our facility manager, and we'll get back with you guys.
Okay. I think it should continue to be
Yeah.
a goal to get sort of one of our future meetings out at our
For
our
sure.
facilities and that facility in particular.
For sure, it's easier in January and February. Sometimes in November and December, we get lots of corporate events that come in there. So let me look at that schedule and we'll go from there.
Okay. Okay, well then if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
A second? Okay, Tom?
Commissioner Bach,
Aye.
Commissioner Hester,
Aye.
Commissioner Keen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rooney. Chairman Boroff.
Aye. Okay, then the ayes have it and we will adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
for,
Thank you very much.
Your contributions.